developed, paging the owner of license plate KBM 422A. KBM 422A, license plate, anyone? Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think, as announced, I'm here to present you the budget execution for the first part of 2017. The chair of the Finance Committee has already explained and talked a bit about the budget itself, amounts. So I'm just going to do the easy part. The first part of the year generally is fairly low activities, operational-wise, and that's usually reflected in the financials. We, in the accounts function, we spent the first part of the year to finalize the budget preparations, which started sometime late last year. That's including the participation of all staff, heads of departments, with formulating projects and objectives and what have you. So the first part of 2017 was to really finalize that. And once it was done, it was submitted for review by the Finance Committee. And the Finance Committee would normally recommend to the board to approve the budget, which happened in January. Another big highlights again, which happens towards all the time at the beginning of the year, is the statutory audits. That was completed in time, and a lot earlier this time than what we used to. That was really upon the request of the board and the community, so that they can have the figures a bit earlier to review. We managed to achieve that. And that was submitted to the audit committee and which I think the details of which Andrew has just presented earlier on. Some numbers. This is basically the financial status as at the beginning of the first few months, which is to April 2017. And I'm not going to go too much into details. The most important part of it is really the fact that after the first 4 months, we have almost achieved 95% of our annual budgeted revenue, the bulk of which is, of course, membership fees. And there's not been much difference from previous years, something very, very common. And it's just that in 2017, it's slightly at a much higher level. Instead of, if you look at the 2016, it was still 95%, but on a total budget of 4 million. Now it's 95% on a budget of 4.5 million. The fee revenue, as I just said, we've just achieved 95% of the annual budget. And based on that, we have no reason to believe that the annual budgeted revenue would be achieved by at least the quarter two. So it's basically reflect how we were conservative in the preparation of our revenue budget. We always tend to try and be a little bit more conservative because our expenditure is based on how much we receive. So anything that is received after that, be above the revenue budget, really goes straight into the surplus. We continue to I didn't even press anything. Somebody's doing that. Is somebody moving the slides? Eh? No, this is not what I want. All right. We move on to the operating cost. Again, as I explained just now, Operational activities is fairly low the first part of the year, so that will obviously be reflected in the financials as well. And the administrative cost was at 27% of the annual budget, which is more or less on target. It's probably a little bit lower than what was expected. And the distribution cost, which is mostly the meetings and all that, the amount achieved was 11%. Overall, the cost to April have been stable and consistent and probably comparable to previous years at 21%. Of course, operational activities will pick up in the second quarter, and this will obviously be reflected in the financials as well. At this point in time, there is no deviation that we can report, and we don't expect any deviation which is substantial that is going to influence the results by the end of the year. Sorry, it's just the clicker here. Yeah, okay, right. Okay. Right, a little bit more details on the operating cost. And as you can see, it's itemized into different type of expense item. We more or less on target on most of them, and we don't expect major changes going forward, moving onto the the quarter 2 and quarter 3 until the year end. That's the distribution cost. Again, that's on a very low side because that's mostly meeting expenses, as you can see, and travel. All these start really as from quarter 2. When many meetings are held, and our first meeting, which is being held in Kenya now, and also the members training and all the other outreach as well, all these will start kicking in as from the quarter 2. This is basically a summary of the different aspects of our operating cost. As you can see, it's summarized 20 to 27% admin, which has been achieved, 11, and then we've got a contingency of $250,000, which was explained by the chair of the finance committee just now. So again, we're doing a lot better with regards to budget achievement compared to previous year. We are 21% compared to 27. Looking ahead, as I just mentioned, operating activities typically is very slow during the first quarter, but will pick up during the second quarter onwards. And this is what you've seen now. We've got slightly lower than expected. At the current rate, really, we have all the indications that we are going to meet our budgeted numbers, and the budgeted results is also going to be on target. We're going to keep, as also mentioned earlier on, a close watch on major expenses that can have a negative impact on our bottom line, specifically meeting expenses and travel, etc. And at the same time, we're going to be engaging into the recruitment process for all the positions that have been budgeted. The US dollar so far has been stable during the quarter 1. How much that will remain stable, we're not too sure. There's quite a few unknowns. But at the moment, it seems like it's a bit stable, and it will not have a major influence on the bottom line. Our focus for 2017 remains a disciplined spending culture, continuing, maximizing our fee collections, and the continued delivery of service excellence, and at the same time, continuous improvement on the high level of customer satisfaction, which is obviously ongoing year in, year out. We strive to achieve a higher level of customer satisfaction. I think that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Patrice. We'll take the last presentation from the chair of the Finance Committee. Sorry, chair of the Fee Review Committee on the new fee structure being discussed, Mr. Seaborn.
So let me make sure I know how to use it first. Which one moves forward? Okay. Thank you, Chair. I got a couple of thousands of slides there, but I'll try to see whether I can actually put it down to, more acceptable one. Okay, so we started looking at the fees review starting last year, looking at what was happening into while we were moving slowly into our /8. So we had to start thinking about what will happen. So then we started with the fees review committee. Right. The committee consists of these people. Obviously, you'll see that we've tried to manage to get people from academia, from some LIRs, extra large LIRs. Obviously, the Council of Elders is there. I'm chairing the committee. Alan is also part of the committee, and obviously the finance director, just to create a level of stability there and to understand exactly where we're moving forward. Okay, a couple of updates. We had a few meetings. We've gathered a few category of, well, the members, as I mentioned before. The committee is also focusing on the stability of Hafenic and obviously looking at what we're going to be facing over the coming years. So we're not only looking at how the fees are going to evolve, but we're also trying to make sure that when we get the suggestions from all the different members, we take them on board and we kind of make sure that everything is actually moving forward normally. Well, there are quite a few anomalies in the current fee structure that has been mentioned, and we've taken note of that. Obviously, we're going to be looking at probably changing a few things, but we cannot say right now because we haven't actually finally decided on how we're going to move a few things, because there's a list of things that we need to sit down and look at properly. Some of the things, well, there was a need to raise the revenue, obviously. Look at how to better charge for the bigger LIRs, obviously, because they've got the money, and I'm pretty sure they can actually help us move forward. Obviously, the lower ends we'll probably be looking at, we're trying to balance that. And we're going to be looking mostly at how we're going to use, well, once we move into the V6 line, we're going to be looking at whichever is larger, perhaps we're going to be adopting. If you've got a larger scale with V6, we're going to charge your V6 against or V4, whichever one is larger on that end. A stability and a phased approach was suggested. So it might not just start now, but obviously we'll try to make sure that some of the suggestions will go in slowly as we move forward. We're looking also at rationalizing the end users, the LIR gaps, and obviously the discounts that has been put forward so that we are all happier, let's put it that way, because we've heard members who are always having some issues with that. There has been a proposal that we look at probably increasing the overall revenue by 10%. It's been suggested. It's not said that we will do it that way, but it's been a suggestion. Other areas of fees committees revisiting about stabilizing the fees itself, having an agreement, but we know that there will be, when the V4, when we're going into the last /8, we know that quite a few companies are going to go into mergers and acquisitions. Right now, we have nothing really in terms of that. So we're thinking we should be actually looking at what kind of charges we should be putting forward as well. And obviously looking at inbound or outbound resource, whether it's going to be free or how we're going to charge that, that's also being discussed. And also we're reviewing in terms of V6 strategy how we're going to be helping move forward. And obviously there's been discussions on rationalizing on the fees and late payments, which members have so much talked about on the RPD list, on the list. So these are also being discussed. So don't worry, it's taking a bit of time, but we will get to it. So this is basically my last slide. So I just wanted all members to know what the process is going to be. So the Fees Review Committee will finalize its potential set of proposals. Obviously, it might be one, might be a few of them, but obviously we'll discuss that. That will go into the Finance Committee, which will indeed propose to the board. Once we're done with the board will actually send it to the mailing list for members to give their views and their comments over it. Obviously, you will have 60 days, members will have 60 days to comment on that. We will take those on board. And once all is set in motion, we hopefully will probably by the time we get to next year, we may be able to apply whatever is correct for the membership. But obviously, please don't worry. We'll keep you informed of what's happening. Obviously, there are a few things we can't say right now because it's not finalized. But by that time, I'm pretty sure you will be more in line with that because you have the time to do some comments in there. We're not just going to be taking it and forcing it on you because if you look at the bylaws, the board is kind of authorized to just pick up and, put the fees on your head and you're going to have to start paying for it. We thought it is better that we discuss with the other members and we get that out there and we get the comments from the membership and we make sure that everybody is we cannot make everybody happy, but obviously we should be able to find some balance in there. So that's it for me. I think everything is asante today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sibon. Members, we agree we need to discuss, but if you look at the agenda, we don't have discussions listed. We must discuss, so discussions will stand between us and coffee break now. So I want to propose that perhaps we just discuss and we defer coffee break to when we have the balloting, so that you can go and take your coffee, come and cast your ballot, or cast your ballot, go and take the coffee, and while the coffee business is going on, the voting business is also going on. Does that make sense, or you want us to follow the natural order? I just need one or two people to speak on behalf of the community. Noah, can you speak on behalf of the community? We should continue. Thank you very much. So, is there anybody who thinks we should take the break now? Okay.
Use your fake smoke. He needs to smoke.
Anybody who needs to have a smoke, raise your hand. I will send a fake cigarette to you. All right, so we proceed. Now we discuss all the presentations, all the reports, and the mic is open. Discussions. If there is none, I would be glad to. So the mic is open for the queue. If there is no queue, the chair will move to proceed.
Oh, no one. Chair.
Please be clear whether you are speaking in your own capacity or in the community capacity.
Hi, Noah here. I sent a couple of emails to, I think I addressed them to you, some of them to the CEO. I see you just responded to one of the emails just a few minutes ago. The first email I'd sent was in reference to the figures regarding the directors. Yeah, there was a figure on the enrollment and other benefits given to directors by the company during the year 2016, where 164.7 where it was 164.7 72 compared to 47.49 in 2015, a 221% increase. So you've responded, I see in the email. I don't know if all the other members have been able to see your response. So if you can just clarify also.
I thought you needed the information, so you just want me to tell members. All right, all that is in the email is that the 2015, we only had the CEO on the payroll for 5 months, while he was on the payroll for 12 months in 2016. So obviously, if you try to compare the 2 months, you think there is a 120% increase. So there is no increase. I think that answers. And the other question has to do with why there is a lot of debt written off. It was 25,000 in 2015 and 36,000 in 2016. These are members who went out of business. We have no control over it. And they bust, they are bust. It costs more to pay a shock to chase $2,000 and to just write it off the book. So we had to take that decision and we took it. So it's